different pieces required different lifts. For this one in particular, knew it was a larger lift because there was a set and actors. Watch a few promos for television shows to get a vibe. I also did the voiceover. Yeah, when it comes to the news, it can sway back and forth. Want to make sure that whatever we put out is current, but it also hits at the right time.
Curious about creating high-quality YouTube videos? Enroll in video editing and production classes at Manhattan Edit Workshop to sharpen your skills and turn a hobby into a career. Start your journey to becoming a pro today.
Hey everybody, this is Josh from Manhattan Edit Workshop. Welcome to Sight, Sound, and Story, episode 62, Behind the Edit of The Daily Show. We're joined by Nikolai Johnson, editor of The Daily Show, for a behind-the-scenes look at his work on the Emmy-nominated episode RFK Hospital. Johnson's going to share insights into his creative and editorial process, from shaping story performance to finding precise rhythm, pacing, and the comedic timing that brings a piece to life. The conversation is going to explore the unique challenges of editing for late-night television, where news, comedy, and storytelling converge under tight deadlines. Johnson will offer a glimpse into the decisions and techniques that transform raw material into a finished segment. Wow, this is great because I'm reading from a prompter and it's giving me all the information I need. Amy Leland's going to be our moderator tonight. I'm going off script now. We're going to thank ACE, American Cinema Editors, Edit Stock, Filmmaker U, and Janet Dalton and Jason Banky from Manhattan Edit Workshop, who do all the heavy lifting. Then they write the script for me to read, but I can't even do that right. And we get on with the show. So please like us, subscribe, let us know the kinds of things that you want to see in the future. Always happy to make content like this. We love talking to editors and filmmakers and all kinds of creative people and bringing it to you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Thanks, Josh. I am here with Nikolai Johnson, a freshly Emmy-nominated editor from The Daily Show. I know you're in the middle of your busy workday for The Daily Show, which is kind of leading into a lot of the things I want to ask you about. So we'll try to do this as efficiently as possible. First of all, if we can just start sort of generally, how long have you been with The Daily Show and what is your specific role on the editing team there?
I have been here for 11 years now. I think 11 now. Yeah, I'm an editor. I started as I started as more of a day-to-day editor of, cutting the show, and then sort of eventually graduated to, as we started doing more sketches and trailers and things. So I started to do a lot more of those. But we all kind of we dabble in everything. We all cut the show. We all will work on field pieces and whatever comes our way, kind of, which is a lot.
That's exciting and also probably a little terrifying.
It's definitely exciting because you don't go too long without having a new thing to work on, and sometimes that can be something that you hear about, a couple of days ahead of time, so you get a chance to wrap your head around it. Okay, we're going to do, say, a spoof on The Pit, so I can, do some research. Other times it's just, day of, hey, we're going to do this. They're shooting it right now. Turn it around for today. So I'm just like, okay, well, I got to, figure out what exactly that thing is and, everything I need for it. So yeah, it's definitely challenging, but it's also, kind of thrilling that like every day you don't know what you're going to get. Just like the news, I guess.
I mean, you kind of work for a news show, so it is it has a lot of the same challenges, I'm sure.
Yeah, I do think that like, we are obviously like first and foremost a comedy show. But when it comes to our field pieces, or if we do a man on the street type of thing, we definitely have like our journalistic integrity where we would never put, words in people's mouths or make them say anything. So we we do try really hard and we have, fact checkers and making sure that what we're presenting, while jokes are, factually accurate and are not misrepresenting anybody in any way. So it's an extra challenge to do both at the same time, I feel.
So, in terms of the kind of audience who would watch a show like what we're doing, Sight, Sound, and Story, there are going to be a lot of people who work in production and post production. And what they're going to be probably really interested in is how you all make this happen. So, there are some very specific challenges that come into a show like The Daily Show. The first of all being that it's daily. So, the workload never stops. You're in that process every day. It's taped in front of a live audience. So, you have, those uncertainties that can happen when taping in front of a live audience. And then also, because it is at its central theme a news show, you have to be topical, daily, current. And so I want to talk a little bit about the workflow of putting through the show and the challenges that that brings to it. So first of all, focusing first on these pre-recorded pieces, on these sketches. You did already talk about that sometimes you get some notice and sometimes you don't. But generally speaking, how long before a show do you know that one of those is coming and that you need to be prepared to put that together?
It's hard to say generally because different pieces require different lifts. For this one in particular, we knew it was a larger lift because there was a set and actors. So I kind of knew maybe like a week before that, like, oh, this is something that's, coming your way. Um, and so like I said, I was able to, watch a couple episodes or, watch a few promos for, television shows to kind of get, you know, to get a vibe. I've definitely watched enough television to know kind of intrinsically like how these things work. And I also I also did the voiceover for the piece, so uh, trying to be like, okay, what does this voice need to sound like, sort of deal. But yeah, for the most part, we have a couple days beforehand, usually like while they're shooting it, to sort of gear up and finish what we have already been doing in order to, make way for something new. But it really does depend because sometimes, people get ideas and uh, it needs to go day of because there's a certain news peg that if we don't get this out by this time, it's going to make a little less sense. It can work the other way where we might hold a piece because we don't have the right news peg for it yet, and it is more evergreen. So I think when it comes to the news, like it can sway back and forth because we also want to make sure that whatever we put out is current. But it also hits at the right time that if we can, save it for a better time, we will use it then, or get it out as soon as possible.
In preparation for talking to you today, I did get to attend a taping of the show this week, which was super fun.
Oh, nice.
And one of the audience members asked Michael Costa, what time do you arrive? What does your day look like? And he talked about that, obviously, from the standpoint of being, talent and a writer. What does that look like for the editorial staff? On a typical day, what time are you all there to begin finding out what ideas are coming out of the writer's room that you all need to start working on?
We usually get in around like 10:30. And for day of things for, what we call headlines, we'd start working on news bites around noon with a producer. They will be the ones who, kind of watch all the news and kind of accrue bits and pieces of like what stories we know we want to talk about, what news wraps have all the information that we need to share. So we'll, work together with them and figure out what we need to, what we need to cut for that day. It does. I hate to keep saying that it depends because, a lot of times we are working on both. We might be working on a field piece in the morning and then cutting the show once it tapes afterwards. So a lot of times you're just finding time in between. If you're cutting headlines, you're finding time in between to, pop over into a different project and sort of tinker on that, and then, pop back over to day of things. But yeah, so our day usually starts around 10:30, and then we sort of get news bites trickling in around noon, and then rehearsals at 2:30. So we usually have a done script by then where we know exactly what we want to hit. And then after rehearsal, there's a, rewrite, and rewrite can sometimes be very, like, it might change the entire show. So we have to do everything that we've done already again for the rewritten show for taping, which is usually at around 6 or so. So, and then
Wow.
we're probably rolling in whatever it is, but around 5 or 5:30. So yeah, so it can be a bit hectic. Other days, maybe not so much if we know exactly what news stories we want to hit. But it can change. And also, news is breaking. So sometimes things happen in between rehearsal and the taping that we have to, you know, hurry up and figure out where does this fit, because we air at 11. So we can't air at 11 without saying that this information happened. So it gets a little tricky at times. But yeah, no, we're kind of used to it now, so we just kind of figure it out.
You don't need a gym membership. Your cardio is taken care of.
Oh yeah. It used to be we would run from room to room. Slack has helped that a little bit. But yeah, we're usually still pretty, our hearts are pretty
I was gonna say
are
you don't
pretty
even
well
have to be
conditioned.
moving. I have definitely had experiences in my life where my Apple Watch says, "Hey, your heart rate's high," and I'm like, "I'm sitting still." What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
right.
That show would do
Yeah,
that for you. And
yeah.
what's amazing about what you just described is when I went to the taping, we were let into the studio, I think by about 4:30 or 5, which means that while the comedian who was on stage warming up the audience was out there, you all were back there madly still editing things we were about to see.
Yeah, yeah.
That
I mean,
that is
it, we
wild.
we can go up to the wire. We uh, it's not all that often where we're just like right up against it, but it does happen. And so yeah, so while I usually might have a camera on the audience loading in, so I know how much time I have. But yeah, no, we're always working while that's happening. But it's
Wow.
kind of fun when you like finally finish something and send it to the control room, and especially when you get some good laughs, you're like, oh wow, like all right, like that felt pretty good. I've never wanted to do stand up or anything like that, but this is the closest thing to it, where it's just like, oh, I just performed something, and then literally it just went out to them and they got to see it and laugh. So it's always nice to get a good laugh.
And then there comes that point in the day. So, like I said, I went to the taping. It started, like you said, around 6. It was done around 7. You all aren't done yet. There's a show to get on the air by 11 o'clock, and you still need. So, for example, I know that the interview I saw that day, I think the interview I saw was longer than what the whole show can be. So clearly, you all are cutting down the interviews and doing all that. How tight is that process between the show ending? What time do you have to deliver for broadcast for the network's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, to be comfortable, we usually are delivering around 8:30. There have been times where we've, gotten up to the deadline. Like the latest I would say I've ever been a part of was maybe like, 10:15, 10:30 for an 11 o'clock show. And that's close to, okay, we're gonna play this out of the Avid,
Ah,
situation. So like we haven't gotten there yet, knock on wood. But yeah, so it is still like a pretty tight deadline as far as like cutting the show. Again, if there's a if there's a factual thing that needs to change or something, usually our show consists of 3 acts. And we usually might cut maybe one or two things, or out of the first 2 acts, depending on how they play. But for the most part, the act three, the interview, is the accordion piece. That's where we find most of the time for the show. And we do put an extended interview out, but for air, we have to distill this half-hour conversation into 5, 6 minutes. And have it make sense and flow. And again, have the integrity intact of like you get to actually know this person and know why they're there, and also have it be funny and have it be entertaining. So it is a hard process to sometimes do that, especially with uh, the longer the interview, the harder it is to cut it into, the shorter amount of time. I think when I started, uh, one of the first long interviews I had, it was John was interviewing, I think he was interviewing Bill Clinton, and that interview went, I don't know, it felt like it, an hour. And it's like trying to get that down was really intense. So that was like my, kind of feet to the fire moment. But I think that doing that work in the amount of time that we have to do it has become natural for a lot of us. And so we're watching the interview, we're seeing, you know, where to go from A to B, and as soon as the interview's over, we get right to it.
You must have a process that you all are used to where you're watching it as it's happening and making editing decisions as it's live and making notes for yourself like, okay, we could take that question out if we need to, or things like that.
Right. Yeah, and it's tough because occasionally there's a comedian on and they want to call back to something that I wanted to cut. So it's just like, okay, well, I guess I have to keep that or lose both instances of it. There'll be props and things, so you kind of it is a juggling act of trying to figure out how to navigate it as it's happening. But that's the only way. That's the only way I know how to do it, and so yeah, so it can be pretty challenging. But like I said, we've gotten used to it, and we know the ways around it a little bit. So I usually don't fret until someone starts bringing out props or the interview goes long for longer than like 40 minutes or something like that. Then I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to get worried.
And I'm assuming while I was watching the taping, I could see in one of the monitors on one of the cameras, there was clearly a line cut that was being recorded. So do you all normally start from that line cut excuse me, you all normally start from that line cut and then just work in from the individual cameras where you need to for edits, or are you starting with the cameras? How are you normally doing that?
Yeah, we will start with a line cut. Usually that's pretty well. That's always like pretty well done. We have access to all the cameras. We get fed all the cameras. So if there needs to be any changes, if we happen to miss a reaction or something like that in the line cut, then we'll refer back to the singles and to the ISOs and get those. But yeah, for the main, covering edits and trying to make sure that that you don't feel it, like that's our whole job essentially, is to not be noticed. And so yeah, so we have all those ISOs and cameras. It does feel magical. I mean, I don't want to date myself too much, but we were grabbing tapes and to get ISOs to cover and punching in just the specific time code we need. And now all of a sudden, 5 minutes after the interview, I have a bin with every camera perfectly synced. So that's definitely yeah, it's definitely really nice and has made our jobs a little easier. But I feel like that rush is still there. That as soon as, like I said, as soon as the interview's done, I'm still like, all right, we have to go, because you never know what's going to happen or what's going to come up if there's any issues that happen. So that clock is always going for us.
Now, you mentioned earlier, you referred to a clip, and it's a clip that we want to take a look at today. And I just want to mention about this clip that recently this year's Primetime Emmy nominations came out, and the name Nikolai Johnson is on that list. Congratulations for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I'm sure you're excited about that. And it's specifically about this clip, which we're about to watch, a segment called RFK Hospital. Let's watch that clip, and then I want to ask you some questions about it.
This fall.
We got another one.
Status?
He's bleeding out. We're losing him.
I decide when we're losing him.
A
groundbreaking new medical drama.
We lost him. Time of death, 5:22. Cause of death, the COVID vaccine.
RFK Hospital.
Sick of this!
The only hospital brave enough to follow the medical advice of America's health secretary.
It's all right, trying to squeeze in lunch. What are you looking at?
We have a patient with a strange virus that's weakening his immune system.
Interesting. Has he been swimming in any raw sewage?
Not that I know of.
That's your problem right there. Have him spend a few hours in fecal matter creek. He'll be better in no time.
Led by a doctor who knows that medical science doesn't have to be based on anything in particular.
Come on. I told you never interrupt me when I do pull-ups in jeans.
Sorry, but we have a patient with a fractured clavicle. Should I administer painkillers?
And give the patient autism? No, thank you.
Well, should I take an x-ray?
And give the patient more autism? Give him 20 cc's of raw milk and get the fluoride out of his water. Now!
At RFK Hospital, they're making America healthy and hot again.
Wait, there's something I have to tell you. I have the measles.
It's okay. So do I.
And so do I. It's fine.
He's giving medicine a taste of its own medicine and giving healthcare the shakeup it needs.
Smoothie?
And when tragedy strikes, he answers the call.
School bus hit a deer on I-60. Dozens are arriving in critical condition.
How long ago?
35 minutes.
We can still save that deer meat. Let's move, people. Come on, let's go.
RFK Hospital, premiering after an all-new episode of CSI, Epstein Files.
First of all, when you all sent this clip over, I was so excited to see this because, again, Michael Costa was the host who I saw. So that day, the people I saw doing the sort of more sketch sort of things were not Michael Costa. So it was exciting again to see him perform like this.
Yeah.
And I want to say, first of all, because I don't know if this has been noticed by enough people, this is your 4th Emmy nomination for editing packages like this. So big congratulations for that. You're clearly doing a lot of good work on that show.
Thank you.
But this one, I was so impressed by this. Now, I've been watching The Daily Show for a long time. I remember when Jon Stewart was not the host of The Daily Show. So I've been watching The Daily Show a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is how complex some of these drop-in pieces have become. So there's still some that are fairly simple, where it's, clips that have been taken from the news with voiceover over them, or using members of the cast from the show as sort of like talking head interviews over graphics. But this was a fully scripted, costumed set on a piece on a set that is far more complex. So how often do you get to do a piece that is of this scale?
As far as sketches go, it's once in a while. I mean, I feel like I had another piece. And maybe it's just luck of the draw, but like I had another piece that was not as big a scope as this, but it's always fun to get those commercials or trailers or things like that. That's where we kind of get to have as much fun as possible. And usually, if the idea warrants it, and I thought this idea was pretty good, that everybody will say, yeah, this is great. Let's do it. Let's throw some muscle behind this one. And let's get Costa doing pull-ups in jeans. Let's get sets and actors and things like that. So I feel like the idea was so good that it was kind of hard. It might have been hard for them not to do it. But yeah, so maybe I get like maybe one or two of these a season. But every time I get one, especially this one, I was really excited because I just felt like I said, I felt like I knew I saw it already. So it was fun to just like get that all out.
And for a piece this complex, obviously there's going to be more lead time because there's a script to be written, there are sets to be built, there are costumes to be made. How far ahead of time did you know this piece was coming?
I didn't know that far ahead of time for this one. It's also possible that it was in the works before I even got wind of it. But a lot of times we're just kind of going and doing, with our heads down, doing our work or working on other pieces. And then all of a sudden I'll get a Slack or somebody will stop by my office and say, "Hey, I got a sketch coming your way." And I'm like, "Oh, what is it?" And they're like, "Oh, it's RFK Hospital." And I was just like, "All right, yeah, great." Like, and then, I start getting footage, the next day. Um, so, so, so yeah, the lead time can vary, but a lot of times I don't catch wind of it until, you know, it's about ready to be transcoded and put in my lap.
And for a piece this complex, once you start getting footage, how much time do you have to get it put together?
This one came together. We definitely had, there was a lot of stuff that we didn't use, but like, we definitely had some time to play. But for this piece, it was pretty quick. Again, if it's more of an evergreen thing, we will have a lot less pressure. But then, a new story might come out that would be a perfect peg for it, and then all of a sudden you have a lot of pressure. For this one, I think we just wanted to. We were just really excited about it. So, you know, the writers would pop down and just be like, "Hey, can we see what's happening?" EP will come in and, be like, "Hey, are we close? Because like we really want to air this." So that was like, it was definitely like a little bit of added pressure, but at the same time, for the most part, like we were ready. I think we were ready next week. Um, After doing like an internal review, we were like, okay, I think let me grab some more sound effects, but I think we're pretty much ready to go a week later. But we also sat on it for a little bit, again, looking for the right news peg, the right day for it. If usually what happens is if Costa's hosting, sometimes we won't air a piece that has him in it. Um, and same thing for Desi, same thing for Ronnie. Like, we like to move things around a little bit. Um, so yeah, so we pretty much worked on this for a couple of days, and then we're pretty much ready to go. And I think we just waited till, you know, a Monday or Tuesday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday, for the right place for it. And then just kind of slotted it in there.
In the time you've been with The Daily Show, what would you say, as an editor, what skills do you think this show has both required and also allowed you to develop that are maybe things you didn't do as much in your career before you came to the show?
My career before this was commercials, which while I loved because it did like it was like getting a short film, and I did a lot of comedy also. So, but you had 30 seconds to, or less than that because you have end tags and whatnot. You have 20 seconds to tell a joke. I feel like having, especially for field pieces and such, having that time to breathe and also set up jokes a lot, like pacing wise, I feel like it's definitely taught me a little bit more as far as like I treat it more like a documentary. I feel like that's what like a field piece has kind of taught me how to tell an entire story, and have those 20-second jokes interspersed inside of it, but also really trying to say something after the fact. It's not just all jokes. We still want to teach people something. We still want to learn something out of this, and hopefully there is some sort of not necessarily a call to action, but the piece itself can be something that sparks people to look at things a little differently, or say, "Hey, wait, actually, I care about this. I care about this more than I thought I did, or I care about this now because I didn't know about it. And therefore, you know, maybe I can do something about it, or maybe I can, you know, share this with other people to kind of get the ball rolling as far as whatever the topic is, from, you know, daylight savings time to the dangers of pseudoscience.
And that's always been kind of the secret magic of the Daily Show, is that you all are kind of sneakily helping us to be better informed and better educated and to care a little bit more by making us laugh, which is fantastic. So, well, I know your time is very tight because you've got to get back to work because there's a show on today because
I got a field piece to work on right now.
So congratulations again for your Emmy nomination, your 4th Emmy nomination. And thank you for taking the time out of this busy day to come talk with us and let us know a little bit more of the behind the scenes of how this all comes together. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I had a great time talking to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Nikolai and Amy, our old friend and instructor over here at Manhattan Edit Workshop, for another great event. Please like and subscribe. And again, tell us the kind of stuff you're looking to see, because we're always happy to accommodate. And we thank ACE, that's American Cinema Editors, Edit Stock, Filmmaker U, Jason Banky, and Janet Dalton from Manhattan Edit Workshop, who make the world go round. And we will see you next time on Sight, Sound, and Story.